This conference is brought to you by Callstack, your React and React Native development experts.
Wow, honestly, this is awesome. Good morning, everybody. Hello. Woo! I mean, I'm super excited to see so many of you in the morning, considering that, like Chris said, there has been rumors there were quite a few parties yesterday in Wrocław, which is not a hard thing to do, considering the beautiful city we have. So before we begin, let me reintroduce myself. I'm Mike, CTO and founder at Callstack, a core contributor to React Native. At Callstack, we've been contributing to React Native for a while. We host this conference, and we're doing quite a few other community events. And honestly, it is surreal being back on this stage. The last time I was here giving a keynote was back in 2019, and as you can see, I had quite a different style back then. In the world of technology and also in my personal life, that feels like a lifetime ago. Back then, my talk was about reassuring that React Native was doing great and had a bright future. If you remember, that was a time where famous articles came out and there were questions whether React Native was better or worse than other technologies. And so I remember having those discussions with our clients and the community quite a few times. Today, standing here, it is clear that we're in a completely different place. And it's a real privilege for me to sort of kick it off today with all of you. Now, it's also a great place to be here today. And when I was making this slide, I realized that our conference logo is actually modeled after the top layout of this building. I hope that one day, maybe 10 years from now, the 20th anniversary, we'll move to the main hall. We gotta sort of fill up the room quite a bit. So again, welcome officially to React Universe Conf 2025. Oh my God, it's almost so funny because I almost said 2015, too many of the anniversary things. Anyway, we call it Universe for a reason. React Native is more than just a framework. It's a rich ecosystem of tools, libraries, and most importantly, developers and other contributors from all around the world. This conference is our time to connect as community, to share what we're building, and to talk about how we evolve together. So let's make the most out of it. Now, to talk about how we evolve, like Chris said, it is worth remembering where we started. My personal journey began with React Native 0.4.0. And it was quite different back then. We wrote Create Class, we had Navigator iOS as a state-of-art navigation. It worked, but it was far from a cross-platform library and foundation that we know today. Looking back, it is clear how long journey those years have been. My story is just one of thousands. What began as an internal project at Meta grew into a tremendous community of developers from all around the world, each having a different story of how they started, how you started your React Native career. Each of these stories is unique. And when we put them all together, you begin to see the true scale of this community. That scale is over 4.5 million monthly developers actively using React Native. Together, we're downloading this framework over 15 million times every single month. And when 30% of top finance apps in the world use React Native, you know that you created something truly special. This is what the trust and growth looks like visually. This curve isn't just the result of a single feature. It is the visual proof of our community-sustained innovation. From the foundation of React Native community in 2018, through auto-linking in 2019 that simplified working with native dependencies, through Hermes and Expo CNG that simplified working with Expo and as well provided much faster JavaScript engine, through Symlinks. I can't believe it's been already 2 years. It seems like we've wanted that forever. And then the new architecture announcement and the rollout, which is the longest and the smoothest gradual rollout of a re-architecture I remember. Ending up with the frameworks RFC that names the relationship with Expo and opens up area for React Native to grow and scale to totally new areas within the mobile and the application ecosystem in general. This massive scale is our greatest achievement, and it also defines the next set of challenges for us as a community. The questions we must now answer are about the maturity, and with millions of users using React Native every day in some of the most critical apps, stability is no longer our goal, it's sort of the foundation that we're now going to build the next 10 years of React Native. And when you're talking about stability at this level, it really helps that the creator of the framework happens to be one of its most scalable users, which is Meta. And since they push React Native to the very limits, it really helps to have them working and taking care of making sure that this is running for us at maximum performance every day. That said, I'm really excited to have Riccardo from Meta to come up on stage and share their insights and what they've been working on React Native in 2025 to talk about stability and some other interesting and exciting updates. So Riccardo, up to you now.
Thank you. Okay, hi everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Callstack, for organizing this amazing conference. This is the third year in a row that I'm on stage, and it's kind of a tradition now that I talk to you about what's going on in React Native and what's happened this year in React Native. So if you don't know me yet, I'm Riccardo. I'm a software engineer in the React team at Meta, and I mostly work to bring to the open source community what we develop internally at Meta. And today I want to talk to you about why we consider 2025 the year of stability for React Native. This is because we were working on 3 main initiatives this year to make sure that React Native is stable and you can use it in your application. The first initiative that we work on is predictable releases. We work on stable API, and we work on, of course, the new architecture. So let me dive a little bit deeper in what do we mean for predictable releases and what kind of work we were doing. So if you kept an eye on our release over the year, you might have seen that this year we are releasing quite more often than what we used to do in the previous years. So we started with 0.77 release in January, and the branch cut for this release happened in 2024. Then we released 0.78 in February, 0.79 in April, 0.80 in June, and just a couple of weeks ago, we released 0.81 in August. I'm pretty sure that most of you already got the pattern that's here. So when do you think 0.82 is going to be released? Not quite, but we cut the branch for 0.82 yesterday, so RC0 is already out, and the estimated release date is October. So you can see that we are releasing, if we exclude 0.77, every 2 months. And so that means that we kind of expect 0.83 to come out sometime in December. So if we compare this with 2024, in 2024, we released from branch cut to stable 2 releases. In 2025, we are going to release 6th version of React Native. If you want to know why we are doing that, what kind of work was necessary to reach this point, and why this is good not just for Meta, but also for all your applications, don't miss the next talk right after the keynote by Jorge, that is all about React Native releases. Today, I also want to dive a little bit deeper in React Native 0.81, which is our most recent release, because there are a couple of things that you should be aware of. As always, in every release that we do, we pack a bunch of features, and in 0.81 specifically, we were working on Android 16 support. So 0.81 will be the will be targeting Android 16 with API level 36. And this is kind of important for all your Android application because you cannot opt out from edge to edge anymore. So your application will be rendered from top to bottom, and you need to be aware that if before Android 16 it was looking like that, with like the status bar and the bottom bar where you can't draw, starting from the next version, you need to consider the bottom and the top a little bit more than what you used to do. This change also forced us to deprecate safe area view. This was a component built back in the days when iPhone X came out with the notches. So it wasn't really designed to support all the new screen size and like the new feature of new devices. The community picked that up a bit sooner than us, and I think that almost all of you are already using React Native Safe Area Context instead of Safe Area View. But in case you are still using Safe Area View, you're going to start seeing a warning in React Native DevTools that looks like this. Okay, so please, let's try to migrate away from this component because it's probably going away in some of the next releases of React Native. Next feature that I want to talk about is the precompiled binaries for iOS. This is an experimental feature, so we tested quite a bit. We tested it quite a bit, but we are aware that there are things that might not work well. We already found a couple of bugs that are fixed in 0.81.1, but you can enable it with these two flags when you install your pod dependencies. And in our initial experiments, we have seen some apps building 10 times faster than what they used to be. So just imagine how much time we are saving, how much energy we are saving. I mean, this is an amazing feature. The last change that I want to talk about is a breaking change on Android, which will not impact you, so don't be scared. It's mostly for libraries maintainer, and we work with libraries to make sure that they are ready when we release a new release, so you should not see anything. But you might have seen this pattern happening in all our past releases, where we are moving some classes from Android from the public interface API to the internal or private API surface. That's because during these couple of years, we were working on the second initiative I want to talk about, which is stable API. In this initiative, we are basically mapping the API surface of React Native to understand better what is public and what should not be public. And we started with Android a couple of years ago now, I think. And all the releases since we started contains those kind of changes where we remove classes that you're not supposed to use. For example, this list is only less than half than all the classes that used to be public, but you should not have access to them, and therefore we move them to private or internal level. We also, before moving away classes, we check on GitHub how many usages of those are there, and if there are usages, we do not remove it right away. We go through like deprecation process and stuff like that. But all of these were not used, so we just remove them. Earlier this year, we also started with, we also worked on the JavaScript side, where we went from a situation like this, where you were basically importing all these files in your application, including deeply nested ones, to this situation, where you just have to import the index.js file to have access to only the file and types that you actually need. If you want to know more about this effort, the technical details, and how we achieved that, you can see, you can get from on YouTube the talk by my colleague Alexandre that he gave at Up.js earlier this year. And finally, I cannot be on stage without talking about the new architecture. So earlier in May, we announced that the legacy architecture is frozen. What does this mean? It means that we are not working on that internally at Meta. We are not accepting PRs touching it because we don't use it. And yes, exactly that. We don't test it. We don't use it internally. In fact, the new architecture is the only architecture that we use internally at Meta. We use it on the Facebook app. We use it, oops, too much, on the Instagram app, on the Quest devices, on Ads Manager, and we also use it on Meta Horizon application. And also all our internal apps are using the new architecture. So if you are still on the legacy architecture, you are really on your own. Like, we cannot support you anymore. So that's a call for you, if you are not looking into the migration, to look into the migration now. Like, that's the time to migrate to the new architecture if you want to leverage all the new features that we are developing and to get support from people developing the framework every day. Now, on this stable foundation, I want to get on stage Michał to talk about the next 10 years of React Native.
Thank you, Riccardo. So I've been building with React Native and for React Native for the last 8 years. And I'd like to keep doing it for the next decade, which sounds a bit scary because the decade is in 2035, if my math is correct. I hope it is. So to make React Native relevant in 2035, we need to make sure that React Native is the best tool for mobile and cross-platform development. I believe it's pretty good for cross-platform today, and we can push it even further. And with this stable foundation that Riccardo just introduced us, we can pursue that goal. So with new architecture, we have a performant way to call native APIs from JavaScript with almost no overhead. We have stable API layer for Swift, for Kotlin, C++, and JavaScript, which will give us less frequent breaking changes between React Native releases and easier upgrades also for library authors. With web compatibility, we're closer to burying the gap between web and React Native development, which is crucial for further React Native adoption. And what's also interesting, it's equally important for adopting new platforms. And with Hermes' team working on ABI stability for JavaScript interface, we can have libraries that last between upgrades of React Native and that we don't need to recompile between runs and between different versions. With this foundation, React Native can finally break from this early adopters phase, what it is right now, as I believe, and reach the late majority, like where React is on the Rogers technology adoption curve. And this is the place where businesses and users, industries are only taking safe bets and only doing changes when it's absolutely necessary. So there are already industries that are adopting React Native in a vast majority of cases, like e-commerce and finance, where over 30 or 35% of top apps in the App Store are written with React Native today. And I believe we can keep that momentum going. At Callstack, as React Native specialists, we get a front row seat for where the market is and where it's going for React Native. And we see that almost every startup out there is using React Native, likely with Expo. And we hear plenty of success stories from other industries like healthcare, travel or retail, and a lot of others that are happy to build once and deploy their products everywhere. But at the same time, we see a big set of use cases that companies have poor experience with React Native, or existing tools that are built around it. And it's happening for various reasons. But we don't see these as like really, really good reasons or blockers for React Native. We don't see this has to be this way. So what we see is that these cases, like making microfrontends mobile-friendly, for example, or super apps secure, or make it easy for legacy apps to get on board React Native in hours, not months, are within our reach. What they need, though, is focusing on these use cases, and they need better tools to fulfill these cases. And this is why we created Rock. Rock is a React Native framework designed for legacy apps that need modern developer experience, for large applications that want to scale with microfrontends that they know from the web, and native apps that need a smooth bridge into React Native. A framework not for every need out there, but built for enterprise scale and solving particular challenges so that more of potential React Native market can have great experience with this technology. And what's especially important is how we're building it. Rock is based not only on React Native's solid foundation, but also on years of experience working with the community CLI. And of course, it builds on Expo's fantastic open source tooling, such as Expo Fingerprint, while letting you keep using Expo modules, Expo updates, and the rest of their ecosystem. Rock brings large-scale app infrastructure to any React Native or native app out there in a fresh, uncluttered CLI experience. By default, you get local cache tied to your native project state that you can put on a server so you can share this cache with your team. Rock Brownfield compiles your whole React Native app into a single framework file so that you can just import it in your native app, just like that. It has a simple plugin system with powerful bundlers like Repack with RSPack, and it's built to support every platform React Native runs on, with TV and macOS coming later this year. And Rock is just the beginning. At Callstack Incubator, we like to think a little bigger. We're building a whole ecosystem around Rock and React Native, ecosystem of enterprise-grade tools, such as Rosinite, a new debugging helper for React Native, the successor to Flipper, but built for React Native dev tools directly. Shimon from our team will tell you all about it tomorrow. Ultralight is a new library for observability. It gives you end-to-end auto-instrumented telemetry about your app. The data is aggregated and sent to any provider or any data processor using industry-standard OpenTelemetry. Make sure to watch Arthur and Dominic's talk later today. React Native Node API, which brings ABI stable interface to React Native. On top of that, we can build universal cross-platform, cross-framework modules that are backwards compatible and don't require recompilation. You'll hear more about it from Vlad and Kalev today and later from Craig. And finally, secure microfrontends. With Rock and React Native Sandbox library we just released a couple of weeks ago, we've made sure that third-party developers contributing to your super app or even AI agents can't break the rest of your host application. But holistic development in large teams needs even more. And we also aim to solve it. End-to-end testing for React Native is not simple and not delightful, to be frank. We're fixing that with React Native Harness, which is coming soon, and you probably won't hear about it at this conference yet. We're also building Rock Router, a type-safe, file-based routing, like you know from your favorite web frameworks, but for more environments and backed by Repack. And in short, we want Rock to answer these needs, but we can't physically cover everything out there. Now, as much as Expo is the best choice for most projects today, it can't push React Native everywhere on its own, too. We need more tools to fill different niches for different kinds of users and businesses. So it's time to build more frameworks. And our view is simple. We're only scratching the surface of where React Native can thrive. There's still plenty of space for more tools, more frameworks, and with React Native getting more stable with every release, there's never been a better time to build. I hope that React Universe Conference will inspire you to build those great new things with and for React Native, and collectively, we'll make the universal React a little bit closer every year. Enjoy the whole experience and the vibe. Thank you very much. Welcome to React Universe.